Hello there.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. We are wrapping up our animation and live action bracket today. The final four are going to be decided who the champion is, the character made the best transition from the animated medium to the live action forum. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. Joining me today, as always, the man who's voice of your narration. When we're not doing brackets, Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. Star Wars. Always excited to talk Star Wars. I'm very excited to wrap up this bracket. I'm curious to see who comes out on top. I'm excited to talk to you guys about it.
Yep. Also is here today, the keeper of the people's bracket, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you? Yeah, Nick will be with us here in just 1 second. He's having some audio issues here, but Pete, people want to subscribe to us, they can do so. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guy, the favorite podcast platforms, final episodes there. You gotta subscribe. You want all the fun stuff.
Yeah, you're missing out if you're not subscribed. So make sure that you do it. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It gives you a ton of content. So definitely subscribe when you can.
And Nick appears to resolve his audio issues. So, Nick, you want to tell us also, people have been voting in the people's bracket. How can they do that?
Yeah, so sorry I was having a little bit of an issue here, but I'm good now. You can do that on the Instagram, which is at Sky Guys Podcast. And also, besides the Instagram, you can find us on Threads and TikTok at the same handle.
Yep. You can also follow the YouTube version, Mike Phillips on YouTube, the video version. We have some graphic images up there this week, as well as Lego Ahsoka. She is the reason for the season here. So that YouTube version is a lot of fun as well. So, Nick, it's some Star Wars news. We got some fun stuff to talk about here today.
We do. Number one news is the big news. Dave Filoni was promoted to CCO, which is Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm. So I always thought he had a large say anyway, but I guess this was just going to make it so he kind of has more of the final call, I guess, in decisions.
I guess Pete, basically he's the Kevin Feige now of Star Wars.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what it is, right? I think you probably hit the nail on the head there.
All right, so what else we got, Nick?
Also, Ahsoka season 2 is not greenlit yet, but Dave Filoni is thinking of next steps for the story. So I mean, we know it's coming. It's just a matter of when they announce it, kind of thing. And this was news that I saw last week. I'm sure many of you have, that Pedro Pascal is being eyed to play Reed Richards in Fantastic Four. I actually thought that was official. So you're saying it's not official? It's just a rumor, or it's being eyed as?
Well, Marvel has not announced it, so I don't count as official. They made the announcement.
Got it. Well, that'd be an interesting one. And then lastly is the holiday special documentary will release December 5th.
Yep.
On Apple TV, which I don't have.
Yeah, like you could just buy it, I think, and just get it on your phone or whatever.
Mm-hmm. No, it won't be a problem. But yeah, it's December 5th, Tuesday, December 5th.
Yeah, just so we'll put this out here, Pete. We're gonna also cover this special at the end of the month. So if we have one thing planned for next week, within 2 weeks from now, we're gonna re-release our coverage of the original holidays. You know what the hell we're talking about when we cover the doc at the end of the month.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible schedule coming up. So, like we always say, make sure you subscribe because you don't want to miss out on that. So,
all right, that's it here. So let's get now, Nick. That's it for the news, correct?
That is it. There's no more news.
All right, no more news for this week. So let's get to our final four here as we wrap up our bracket. We've been going through this all month here on the podcast. So the final four: Thrawn versus Bo-Katan on one side, Ezra Bridger against Boba Fett on the other side here. These are just generic numbers, is not the actual seeds. We had a 1 seed here with Thrawn, 2 seeds, and a 4 seed. So there were some upsets here, Pete.
Yeah, not major upsets. Well, nothing was higher than a 4 seed or lower than a 4 seed, right?
Yeah, Boba was the big upset.
Right. So yeah. So there were upsets then.
All right.
I'm thinking like of 6 out of 16, but we didn't do it that format.
All right. So I think I think we kind of talked them all to death over the last month. So I don't think we need to rehash all of this stuff here. So Nick, how do you think we should handle these discussions?
I think we should I'm trying to not say vote on it and give a reason. I'm trying to give us a little bit more, but I really can't think of anything else. So yes, we're going to vote on it. We're going to explain our reasoning for it, but what else can we do?
All right, I'd say let's give Pete, give me the elevator pitch on why Thrawn should advance.
Well, I think that Thrawn made a great transition. looks wise looks great. The character looks great. Acts great like they did in the actual animated series. And he really wasn't a bad character overall. So I think that's kind of where I stand with Thrawn.
All right. Nick, do you want to take the elevator pitch for Bo-Katan?
Sure. To me, it's as simple as this: is that Bo-Katan is, and no disrespect to the character, a side character, and the reason I think that if I were to vote Bo-Katan, the reason I would do it is because a side character has made this much impact. Where I'm getting a lot of people who have not seen the animated series, Rebels or Clone Wars, telling me, "Who is Bo-Katan? How do I learn more about her? This is so cool." Now, Thrawn, I get the same thing, but Thrawn is a main character. He's the main villain of the Ahsoka verse. He was pretty much the main villain of the Ahsoka show. This is a character really that's more on the side, a character that's showed up a few times in Mandalorian and really only a few times in the animated shows too. And I'm still getting asked a lot of questions about her, which means that she left a great impact on people. And to do that as a side character, to me, really speaks volumes to how well her transition was made.
All right. I think that's a good way to do this. We'll do this for the other matchup as well in a minute here, but I think I'll start the voting here. I'm going to put Bo-Katan through for the reasons that Nick said. I feel like that she has been such an impactful character, even though like she was a side character for most of Clone Wars. She really doesn't get her big due until I think Rebels and a little bit of Clone Wars season 7. We get some stuff going on with her in Mandalorian that makes it done. The Katie Sackhoff factor. I love that she's brought the character to life and made her the focus, the MVP of Mandalorian season 3. So I'm going to give my vote to Bo-Katan here. So, Pete, you want to vote?
It's tough. I think I have to give the edge to Thrawn. The only reason why is because I'm not really craving more Bo-Katan. I'm craving more Thrawn. I think the anticipation to have him become a live action character is what makes that transition special. Not to disrespect the work that Katie Sackhoff has done when it comes to how she has portrayed Bo-Katan both in animation and also in live action. However, I don't think people were hyped to finally get Bo-Katan live action like they were with Thrawn. So I think because the looks were for both characters on point, I think both are played well. I'm just going to go by anticipation, at least for myself. I'm going to give Thrawn that advantage.
All right, so Nick, comes down to you as the tie-breaking vote here. What do you want to do?
Yeah, this is tough. I was actually really hoping that we did this matchup second because this is the one I wasn't really sure about. And then it actually worked out that you guys went for me and each said one of the two. So now I'm forced to make a decision that's going to impact it. So this is worst case scenario for me because I really am in the middle. I completely agree with all the things you said, Mike, because it kind of echoed what I said to begin, which was all the things about Bo-Katan being a side character. And I completely agree with what Pete said about the anticipation of Thrawn in live action and how excited people were and how we're not even done with that. So I'm in the middle. I have to make a decision for us to move on. And because of that, I'm going to imagine these two in a game. And in this game, Thrawn is the home team, and I guess the home team is going to advance. So I'm going to give it to Thrawn.
So Thrawn is going through to the finals.
I like it.
I'm so in the middle with it. I feel like no matter which decision I would have said, I would have felt bad about the other. So I feel terrible now because I feel like I should have said Bo-Katan. But if I said Bo-Katan, I would have felt terrible instead. I should have said Thrawn. So that's what I have to. I'm really in the middle on those two.
All right, so let's go to the other side now. The Ezra Boba Fett matchup here. So I'll make the case for Ezra here because this is a character we haven't seen in about I want to say when he disappears in Rebels, it's 2018. We haven't seen him in about 4 or 5 years since then. The anticipation is high. The whole pitch of Ahsoka, part of the storyline is we have to find Ezra. Where's Ezra? He's been gone for so long. And there was so much hype about, can we deliver on this character? Can we make him something the fans are excited about? And they got the right actor in Maz Fondi. He has the vibe of Ezra down. He's got the look down very well. He's got some of the mannerisms down. I mean, the whole sequence about how he's trying to bargain with Shin Hati to try and avoid getting killed was a lot of fun. Seeing that character develop and have places to go while honoring this legacy in the animated series. That's why I feel like that's the case for Ezra to advance. So, Nick, I'll go to you as the Boba Fett guy. What's the argument for Boba Fett to advance?
I guess the argument for Boba Fett's what we've been saying the last couple of weeks is how much of an impact he's made on the fan base and Star Wars in general after his live action appearance and not from his animated appearance. I guess that just speaks volumes. How his animated appearance, although not canon and very short, I guess didn't really leave a mark on the fan base, but his live action did, with spawning, the entire race of Mandalorians, the planet, the show of the Mandalorian, the spin-off of the Mandalorian, the Boba Fett show, the Jango Fett and Sabine's armor, and I can go on. I can go on for a long time here, but so that'd be the argument for Boba.
Yeah, I'll also throw in here, Pete, too, the fact that he came from the worst piece of Star Wars media ever created and has become the most important character this franchise has created in terms of spawning material outside Darth Vader. I feel like that's got to count for something.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I think Nick put it beautifully. I think there's a lot that comes from that character, whether, our opinion or anyone else's opinions of his Book of Boba Fett show or how he did in the holiday special. I think that kind of goes out the window with the impact that character had.
All right, so let's get to our vote here. Nick, since you did the hard part last time, you can go first here. Who are you voting for?
I'm going to put Ezra through. I think Boba has made a miracle run to make it this far, but I think this is where it stops, and we start treating this bracket as it really was intended to be, which when everyone read the title and it said animated to live action, and when people saw Boba Fett, they're like, wait, what? And let's stop that for a second and say, yes, Ezra was an animated character who went to live action, and it was done tremendously. Technically, Boba was too, but it wasn't canon. I think his miracle run ends here.
Pete, do you agree with that?
I do. And it's not because of my recency bias of Book of Boba Fett and what I thought of that character and all that. I think that the character as a whole has been very influential to a lot of main storylines in Star Wars. It's given us stuff like The Mandalorian, like Nick said. It's given us a lot of content that George Lucas maybe didn't even think was going to happen. Not to say he got lucky, but I think it was a nice surprise, right? I think it was a great idea. But I think Ezra needs to get pushed through just based upon the facts that I said about the last matchup. Is the anticipation, the transition, the character, the actor was perfect, the way the character acts. So I have to give it to Ezra.
Yeah, I would have made it a clean sweep for Ezra here too, because I do think I'm with Nick. Boba had his moment here, but there's so little animation for Boba. I think it's hard to say he's the winner of the bracket in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I said it first, so obviously I agree. But it's the miracle run has come to an end. Sorry, St. Peter's, it's over.
Yeah. Sorry to the Peacocks here. And now we have a final matchup here. The showdown on the Chimera. These guys spent 10 years together. Now it's Thrawn and Ezra fighting for the title here. So we already weighed out the pros and cons here. Anybody have a strong opinion they want to go first?
I'll do it.
Okay.
My opinion is it's unfortunate. I think regardless of who won that Thrawn versus Bo-Katan matchup, I would have picked either of them over Ezra. In that I believe of the four remaining characters going into this podcast, into this final four, I think Thrawn and Bo-Katan were clearly 1 and 2, and I think Ezra was number 3. So I think they got a little bit of the NFC was a little weak this year, to push them into the Super Bowl. And I'm going with Thrawn, and I just feel like the anticipation is has never been higher for Thrawn, and there's so much more to come. And that's why I'm going with it. It's just what we're going to see with Thrawn. And I think Ezra was more of, Ezra's in this show. And Thrawn was like, this is Thrawn's time.
Yeah. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to force a tie and send it to Pete here. I'm going to put Ezra as my winner here. I feel like this is a spot where we sort of had an expectation what Thrawn would be coming in, and he met it. It was basically, he had a lot of advantages. Same actor, same voice coming through here. You got to rebuild Ezra basically with a new actor, with a new look, and it all flowed nicely to me. So I'm going to give Ezra the vote here. And Pete, you get to decide who the winner is.
Yeah, so I think you're both correct. I mean, I think this is where Nick was when it was the Thrawn Bo-Katan matchup where I'm torn. Both were great actors in the show. Both portrayed the character very well. Advantage goes to Thrawn because it's the same actor. However, I personally think, just from a character standpoint, a well-written and well-acted good guy is always going to lose to a well-written and well-acted bad guy. I think there is an appeal and there is a attraction to a really, really diabolical or even smart or even just really great character when they're the villain. And I think that anticipation and just that stature and that standard has to be applied here too. And for me, that goes to Thrawn.
All right, so we have a winner, folks. The number one overall seed, as set by our bracketologist Phil Fraietta and Max Roberts here. Thrawn has won it all.
That's a little anticlimactic when the number one seed wins the whole thing, right?
He had some tough battles, though. I mean, he won it's 2-2-1s to get here.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel with Bo-Katan, so
yeah,
I thought I really feel like I didn't vote for her. I had a chance to, but I feel as if it should have come down to the wire in the finals between these two.
All right, so let's go ahead here to the let's go to our. You want to see the full bracket, guys? The all 16 matchups.
Why not?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go ahead and pull up here before we get and share some of the other brackets we had submitted to us here. So here's the full bracket here from our bracket here. So a full look at the top 16 and see how it advanced here. I think this actually XC region really was chaotic, but I think there was a lot of chalk on the other sides.
So we'll get into some of the other brackets later, but like some of the ones that were submitted and the one on Instagram, but especially the one on Instagram, it is so much different.
Yeah. Instagram had some wild takes.
So much different. Almost the opposite of what we said.
All right. So, P, any final thoughts on our full bracket before we go look at some of the other ones?
Yeah, looking at just the full bracket, the play-in situation just seems like it's like, why do we even bother? Like just from the amount of just powerhouses in each seed. So yeah, that's the only thing that kind of sticks out to me, just seeing it as a whole.
All right, so that's our bracket. So I'm gonna go to some of the other brackets. Nick's gonna check on us for a minute. He's gonna check the people's bracket when we get to that far. But let's start with
do the people's one last. We're
gonna Phil Fraietta's bracket first here. He submitted his bracket. Sent me a screenshot. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. Phil went large with the chalk. He put in 3-1 seeds in Bo-Katan. He had Thrawn over Hera in the final.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that he made the bracket.
Yeah.
Which is why all the 1s and 2s won their first matchup, but the only upset on the entire board here was Bo.
Yeah.
Over Ahsoka. So, yeah, very clear that he was on the selection committee.
Yeah. Max Roberts also got back. He did not get a chance to send the thing. He said his Echo Phil said he flipped Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, so he went straight chalk.
Yeah, I think that they made the bracket together, so that makes sense.
I kind of find it crazy that Hera's beating Ezra.
Yeah. I
just after watching Ahsoka, not to say that Hera was a bad character, I just felt like Ezra was so much better. And it's wild to me that both of them, I mean, granted, they are the people who seeded out everything, but it's just kind of wild to me that Hera's beating Ezra in that. I could see Hera beating Grievous if Grievous comes out over Ezra randomly, but not Ezra.
If you ask me, the three most, what's the word I'm looking for? The three best are on the left side of the bracket. I think Thrawn, Ahsoka, and Bo-Katan are the three, and then Ezra would be like number 4.
Yeah. Yeah, they were higher on Hera than we were.
They were much higher on Hera and Huyang too. Like we liked Huyang. We had no issues with him whatsoever, but I think he ran into a very hot Boba Fett team that came off a conference title,
Yep. So that's the bracketologist bracket here. So let's go to our friend Recovery Room Nick sent the bracket in here too. So I'm gonna put Nick's bracket up here. So Nick screenshot the Instagram version and filled it out here. So this is what Nick came up. We had a final 4 of Thrawn, Ezra, Sabine, and Ahsoka. Thrawn and Sabine. He said Thrawn wins.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we're all in the ballpark here. It looks like a lot of our first round matchups are the same here.
Yeah, we just love Boba Fett more than Nick did.
I think we have a unique take on Boba Fett, which I think a lot of people don't think of, and then once you say it, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of true."
Yeah, you had Sabine getting all the way to the final here over Ezra here. I think it's also interesting, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nick was high on Sabine. I don't blame him. I think Sabine's a good character. I just Ezra was I again just bias, obviously, because Ezra got to the final match of the championship here. I can't see anyone on this side being better than Ezra, even if you try to explain it out. It just seems like Ezra is the best character. But Sabine's close behind. If Boba Fett doesn't get through and it's Hu Yang, I agree with this. Sabine is going to beat Hu Yang, and it kind of makes sense throughout. So he's not too far off, in my opinion.
You also voted for Sabine over Boba Fett. Me and Nick were the votes against that.
Yeah, no, I obviously respect what we voted for, so that's why I'm putting it that way. But I think Sabine moving forward like that, it makes sense. Beating Ezra though, that one's a little tough. I probably would be picking Ezra over Sabine.
Yep. So Nick, if you want to send me in the message, you want to message me in the chat like who the winner of the people's bracket is. I'll put that one up here. Surprise, Pete.
Pete will see the chat though. No.
If he cannot look for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
I have my eyes covered.
All right, send it to me real
Mike.
quick. Yeah, well, we're gonna have to make a call here, Nick.
So Pete, you can look. It's a tie.
The final.
The final right now
Okay.
sits at Chopper versus Bo-Katan, and they currently both sit at 50%.
Wait. All right, I love
Chopper steamrolled his way to the finals.
I love Chopper, but over like everyone, that's nuts. Listen, if Chopper gets through, just give Chopper the championship at that point.
Yeah, I mean, tie-breaking vote has been officially Phil Fraietta, and Phil Fraietta would have voted for Bo-Katan.
All right, well, there's that, I guess.
I mean, I agree. That has been the tiebreaker thus far. That is who we would vote for. If you want to do that, you could show that, but I'm gonna let this poll run its course.
Oh, so this is what
possibly the answer maybe we're gonna say Bo-Katan for the sake of this podcast, but it's possible that the answer ends up being Chopper, and if it does, I'll post an Instagram story about that.
Yeah, so as of recording right now, if we ended this now and Phil broke the tie in favor of Bo-Katan, which he would, so here's the Pete bracket, which Pete, this one is wild compared to like what we filled out.
The bottom right is really the difference. Everything else is more or less the same. Well, Rex beat Hera.
So wait, okay. So if we talk about purely the transition, not how much time is on there, technically Rex should just go up against Chopper, right? Because you can't mess up Rex, right?
Right.
Yeah. He's there. He's perfectly depicted like he was in the Clone Wars. So technically he should be right all the way up to Chopper. Then those two have kind of like a match. And technically you could say that Rex is better than Chopper because Chopper's regular robot form looks still cheap versus his CGI form, whatever. But damn, this is I mean, listen, I mean it's pretty close still on the left hand side. The right hand side is where I'm getting a little the bottom right, excuse me, is where I'm like a little.
Yeah, I think the thing I noticed too, and Nick's sending me some of the results of these polls here. I feel like the thing that happened here, I feel like that the look itself seems to be the thing that was driving people's bracket.
I mean, it makes sense.
Which it should. When you hear who made the transition to live action better, that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean,
you need to hear it from someone that it's not. I could have wrote in the description, base your answer on look, character development, and this every time. But this is what people think.
Yeah, to reset some results, I mean, Bo-Katan for Zeb, for example, was 63%. So that was like we had a clean sweep on that one.
Yeah, true. Because Zeb is a 3 seed. It blew my mind.
Yeah, and Chopper also, I think, was a top, basically like 1-by-1 vote over Sabine in the people's bracket.
But we are tied.
Yeah, so
it's funny. This still has about 14 hours left to run, so someone can still vote in that time frame, and I will put up a story on who actually wins, and So you might hear it here as Bo-Katan is the winner, and there's a 50-50 chance that is true, but I will post a story about it.
The projected winner is Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Like all municipalities are still not reported in yet.
Right. Yeah. It's like we're at that round table where we all say who we think's gonna win the game, and their logo shows up on the bottom.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for the animation live action brackets. They're a lot of fun here. Next week we're gonna take a detour back to Tales of the Jedi here, because inspired by some online discourse about whether we should continue the story of Balin Skull in season 2 of Tales of the Jedi. We're gonna sort of break down, Pete, some of the best candidates for what season 2 should be.
I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to see what ideas you have and what you guys think. I got a few ideas of my own, so maybe a couple controversial ones. We'll see. I don't know. You got to subscribe to find out.
Yep, we will see about that here. So people want to follow you on social media. I'm going to do that.
At Consy29 on Twitter. That's CONSY29.
Nick, one more time. How can you follow us on the social media streets?
At Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and TikTok. I forgot about Twitter earlier. I didn't say that.
Yep, you can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This is over on the Just on the Suffering podcast. There's some college football talk with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Get you ready for the conference championship games, NFL picks, and more. So that's going on over there. We'll be back next week to talk some Tales of the Jedi. But until then, may the Force be with you.